Hello guys, this is part 2 of our series about this flooder from the auction. And as you remember from the previous episode, at least one of the pistons wasn't moving up and down when I was cranking the crank or rotating the crank. So one piston rod or piston, or most likely the piston or piston rod is broken, and I already got the donor engine pulled from my donor W209, also low mileage donor. And so this car is completely stripped, some parts from my Corvette as well. Okay, nothing here. So I disassembled the whole front end and I pulled the engine and transmission all together, to the front, which was, fairly easy. And if you never did it before, the transmission and engine are pretty much supporting each other. So if you need to pull just an engine, you need to support the transmission when the engine is out, and vice versa, you need to support the engine if you pull the transmission out without an engine. So, and I'm planning I'm at least planning to pull the engine without transmission from my blue CLK. And yeah, this is the transmission from this car. It's still good, I just don't have any use for it. While this car is on the lift, I'm gonna disconnect the exhaust. I'm gonna disconnect the O2 sensor, the wiring that is probably the transmission fluid lines that goes from the transmission kind of through the bottom of the engine to the front cooler or heater. And that's the plan for today, at least. I'm gonna pause it here because I want to try something. Like, whoever is watching this video, just take your time, click either like or dislike button, or write a comment, or do both. I just want to see if it's gonna trigger the YouTube algorithm to do something, because typically I got very little views, maybe 150 views for like Mercedes videos, and I would like to see if likes or dislikes or comments gonna move the video maybe above in the rankings of YouTube algorithm. And just an experiment. That's that. Let's continue. Let me take you to the progress I made so far. So the shielding in the bottom was removed. I also removed the forward part or front part of the exhaust, because at first I thought I'm gonna leave it in place, I'm gonna just unbolt it from the headers, but it takes too much space in here, and I couldn't get to the bolt holding this transmission fluid line. And as well, it just helps to clear a lot of place to unmate the engine and transmission. So yeah, O2 sensors are disconnected. They gone with the exhaust, and right now I have the transmission being held to the engine just by 3 bolts, 2 on the top and 1 on the right upper side. And I also undone the torque converter from the engine as well. So I'm gonna need to undo the fluid line from the transmission, because it will not clear the engine. So this is the part of the engine, so this is the oil pan right here. And this line is right on the way of this part of the engine. Therefore, I'm gonna need to unhook it and just to move it aside. Same thing on that side as well. What else I'm gonna need to do? I'm gonna need to undo the, where is it? Right here. Engine mount. I already purchased new mounts. And right in here. So 2 mounts. What else? I'm gonna need to drain the coolant, and I'm gonna need to recover the AC from the system, because for obvious reasons. And that's gonna be the plan later on for today. Right now I guess it's a good time to have a break. I guess the progress is not bad so far. Okay, the coolant is out from the car, and I got a little bummer here. I wanted to show you how to evacuate the AC gas from the system, to be like responsible human being. But unfortunately just before I started the video, I just tested if there is anything in, and the system is empty. There is no gas in whatsoever. So pretty much all this setup, with the gauges, this recovery machine, scales, and the tank, I just wasted my time. So the only thing left, actually a couple things, actually 3 things left to do. I need to disconnect the fuel line. I need to disconnect the power steering lines, and I need to disconnect the transmission fluid lines from underneath the car. And the rest is already all disconnected. The positive cable that is going straight from the battery to the alternator and starter, it's been disconnected, so I'm gonna remove it along with the engine. The wiring harness that goes from the engine computer to the car is disconnected. It's right here. AC line needs to be disconnected. There is the bolt, and the second AC line that goes to the to the condenser itself needs to be disconnected. But I mean, the rest in overall is ready to go. 3 bolts in the transmission housing, and I need to take this everything back to the boxes. The goal is to raise it high enough so it clear this radiator support, because I'm a little lazy to disassemble the whole thing to, you know, pull the engine out. So we'll see if this lift is capable of lifting this engine, you know, high enough to clear all that. I removed all the bolts from the transmission, so the last 3 bolts I removed here from the top. There is a lot of space to work here from the top, and let's see what's gonna happen. Falcon 9 is shooting to the sky. Okay, we are in the air right now. We are clearing, you know, everything, so I can slide the engine out, but I want to raise it higher to make sure I'll be able to use the leveler once the time comes. So I'm gonna raise it, you know, another 10 inches if it's gonna be possible, and if yes, I'm gonna put the new engine on the leveler. So this is the good engine, and before I'm gonna put it in, I would like to replace few parts. For example, this oil separator is, you know, sipping oil, so I got a new one already purchased. I know this alternator bearings probably are shot because it doesn't spin as freely as it should, and it's somewhere on the loud side. This is gonna be either replaced, or maybe I'm gonna change the bearings. Okay, this one is totally quiet. Water pump looks like it's fine. I don't want to spin the power steering pump because it's gonna spit the oil. But I know that tensioner is pretty noisy. I'm gonna need to fix that. Let's see if the tensioner here is noisy or not. It's not the best too. The alternator is spinning better, but it's noisy anyway. Okay, so I'm gonna remove the alternator and try to disassemble it. So I got the alternator disassembled. I ordered 2 new bearings, the front bearing right here, and this bearing needs to be replaced. This is barely moving, so those are on the way. And while I'm waiting for it, I already gonna start to prepare the engine for coming back. I got 2 engine mounts I'm gonna replace while the engine is out. It's, you know, very easy to do. I got this I guess it's been called like oil separator, that thing. It goes here, and it's notorious for being leaking, and it's a pain to replace because it's very close to the firewall or whatever you want to call it. So I'm gonna replace it right now. I also have those plugs that maybe leaking the oil as well. So 1, 2, and 3, I'm gonna replace it right now as well, and then I will probably and then I know for sure I need to fix the lever on the air intake because I know it's broken. It's fairly easy to do even when the engine is installed in the car, but maybe I will remove this intake while it's here, and we'll see. I think I may have the replacement intake somewhere as well with a good lever. So that's that. Not a surprise why the separator is leaking, because the gasket is there is no gasket pretty much. It's so flat, while the new gasket is like a circle shape. So yeah, that goes first, and this is the reason why I usually replace the engine mounts on those Mercedes. Even this car got like sub 100,000 miles, probably 90, whatever it is, 98. This original engine mount is already sagging. It's probably quarter to half an inch lower than the brand new one, and that's a good opportunity. While the engine is out, you have the full access to those. That's what I'm gonna do right now. This is the second mount I removed. It's actually in a worse shape than the first one. It doesn't hold anymore. I guess it already lost the oil from inside. This one is a little bit more stiff, but this one is it's collapsed. So it's a good thing those mounts are being replaced. Getting prepared to put this engine into the car, decided to drain the oil, which is very convenient to do when the engine is out, and especially on CLK convertibles there are braces that go in right underneath the drain plug. So when you change the oil in a convertible, it's usually a mess because the oil goes right on the top of those braces, creating the puddle. It drips from everywhere. So I guess this is the perfect opportunity to drain the old oil. I can put the new oil once the engine is inside. It's gonna be like probably a few pounds lighter without an oil, which may help me just a little bit. So that's the progress so far. I replaced the pulley, not a pulley but the tensioner pulley, yeah, because this is the old tensioner, but the pulley is from the donor engine. What else? I removed the intake. I cleaned everything, and I'm waiting for the new intake gaskets to arrive. In addition, I ordered the new lever for the how they calls for the flaps, because this intake got the broken lever, but other than that it's okay. Mounts are installed. I swapped the steering pumps because the old pump from that motor was very noisy. So I put my bet on the pump from the broken engine, which has like 98,000 miles or so. So the oil pump is a closed system, so the water did not came in. Since it was when the engine was flooded. So I'm pretty I feel pretty safe about using the pump from the flooded engine. I decided to change the oil filter as well while I'm close to it. So when I remove this cartridge from the housing, first of all I noticed those two things laying inside the housing, just there in the bottom. That was a little bit concerning. I double check the situation with the filter. So this is the filter I found installed. If you're a Mercedes guy, that's not the thing how it's supposed to be hanging in there. It's supposed to sit pretty tight. So I opened the new filter that I got. I installed MAN filters pretty much in every Mercedes I have. That's slightly different, and let's say if I would like to install this one, it's sits very tight. I didn't replace the rubber O-rings yet, so I won't install it yet, but I mean that's the difference. I am not sure what type or kind of filter is that one, but it's definitely not for this Mercedes. It shows Senfineco or E5277, so that's not the right kind. I hope very much that it at least was filtering something, but seeing how many passages are around and how it's wobbling, it's obviously didn't do a good job. Hopefully the new filter will fix this problem. I am preparing to put the engine inside. What I did before is I removed the torque converter and I drained the fluid from it, just to make sure the whole transmission is out from the old fluid. Sometimes people say it's bad, you need to mix the old fluid and the new one. I decided to change it all because I didn't know if the water came inside the transmission. Okay, that's a milestone for me. I never previously, removed or replaced the engine in the cars. So I just put two upper bolts that holds the transmission and engine together, which means it looks like it's pretty much aligned already on the mounting points. I can drop the engine hoist and I can raise the car to put another the other bolts holding the engine in place. But at that point the engine is pretty much on its own. Whew. It was quite a finagling to mate the transmission and engine. There is almost no tolerance. It should be super precise. I guess it's maybe 1/16 of an inch, and there are different axes, this axis, and that axis. So there are three axes playing together, so it's little tricky to adjust the angle of the transmission and adjust the angle of the motor. Let's say this engine leveler only adjusts this rotation of the engine, not this one. So that's what makes it a little bit trickier to do, but looks like it's doable, as my experience proves. So I'm gonna go ahead and slowly gonna start to bolt it back together. Let me take you up to the speed. I installed the engine back, I connected the exhaust, I torqued the torque converter to the flex plate, I torqued the bell housing to the engine, so everything is pretty much assembled here in the back. The only thing I'm waiting for before I can, put everything back together, I am waiting for the gaskets for the intake. So what I did with the intake as well, I replaced this lever because this lever was broken. So I ordered the replacement lever from Amazon. So yeah, everything's working here now. That's that. So right now, since we're still waiting for the parts to come, besides the gaskets, I'm waiting for the O-rings for the injectors as well. So pretty much that's two last pieces of the puzzle. But right now we have a time to see what happened to the original engine. So I'm gonna put the engine, which is somewhere in there, I'm gonna put it on the engine stand, and we're gonna start to tearing it apart just to see what the damage is. Just mounted the engine on the stand, and when I slightly elevated it, you see the water is coming from the intake. Probably that's not a very good sign to begin with. I'm gonna pretty much it doesn't show it got any oil, but I'm gonna open the drain plug and drain whatever residuals there could be. I don't want to create any additional mess. Then I'm gonna remove all the wiring from the engine. I still can reuse it or resell it. I don't think the wiring suffered. At least it's gonna cut some of my costs. I'm gonna check the alternator. I'm gonna remove the AC compressor. I already put this power steering pump on that Mercedes, like I told you previously, and I'm gonna remove the intake, and then we'll proceed further. There is barely anything inside, but it's Milky Way. Let me see. I'm probably gonna tilt the engine slightly. Maybe it's gonna help with the flow. Oh, a little better. Maybe just a bit more. Okay, now we're talking. Okay, meanwhile it's draining, I'm gonna start to remove the wiring and all this stuff around. Folks, by looking here, do you see what mistake I made by looking on the mounting points. And there. So those two mounting points on the top right now, they are pretty much holding by the upper oil pan. So if this seam wouldn't be RTV'd or siliconed, I don't think that the strength of those two bolts in the bottom would be sufficient to hold the freaking motor in place. So I need to figure out the way to transplant those two mounting points somewhere here, if it's possible at all. And once I'll figure it out, we'll proceed further. Slight change of plans again. So I hooked my engine hoist to this like air, and I removed those upper mounting points. So this one is pretty much done. It's been held by the dipstick only. I'm gonna undo the dipstick and lift the belly pan. Let's check out what we see under. I'm gonna put it right here. Okay, I see the problem right in here. I think that's the oil pump, probably. And I can see the signs of the bottle inside. All right, let's remove the oil pickup tube and remove this shield. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. Oil pickup tube, splash guard, splash shield, whatever it is. Some chunks. And I can see the culprit. I'm not sure if you can. I guess that's our problem here. Oh, we got, actually I wasn't expecting that. We got both piston rods broken, or how it goes. Yeah, that's little unfortunate. How about other ones? Yeah, other ones survived. Just the first, and yeah, those are bent as well. Alright guys, this was the episode where we found out what caused the engine lock, an engine brake, and engine damage. I guess nothing else much to see. Alright, I'm gonna come back as soon as I'll get the gasket for the intake, O-rings for the fuel injectors, and by then I think it's gonna be a startup attempt. Thank you for watching.